Hi, Reverend Tony Suarez, trying to be here with you, trying to go through some of the principles of my book, What's the Law Got to Do with It? Understanding Religious Freedom Law. I'm hoping that you get a chance to purchase the book and go through it and give you some more details. This purpose of these synopsis is just to go over some of the ideas and concepts so to give you an idea of what's going to be covered in the book. In more detail, obviously we'll go into the cases, more explanation, but at least here you can get a peek into what the book is about. So this chapter is about the right to die. And there's been a lot of law on what's called assisted suicides, and that the ability of doctors to help you to commit suicide. You don't want to live anymore, and for that could be many reasons. I'm sure all of you have had some situation with your family or relative that's totally invalid, is so sick, in more pain than they are in just existence. And at this point, they're not producing anything, they're just existing. But yet our society seems to say that we have an obligation to keep living. And of course, the hospitals are just very pleased to keep you living. If you're in a hospital, they give you more drugs and more money. In the book, I go into statistical analysis about how much money is being spent and how much money was spent 20 years ago on Medicaid, Medicare, and hospitalization as opposed to today. The numbers are astronomical as far as the growth. And where this is going to go is even going to be higher because, of course, our nation is getting older. There are more elderly people now than there were ever in the past. So this problem is going to exacerbate itself in the future. So the question is that currently many states, not all states, I forget how many exactly, but it's in my book, how many states allow for those people who are near death, who are near facing death and have a terminal illness and have less than 6 months ago, that then in those cases they're allowed to have assisted suicide. But most cases, most states do not have assisted suicide legislation, and they're limited to just 6 months before. So I'll give you a simple example. I had a brother-in-law who had a kidney transplant. He had already 2 kidney transplants, and the doctors wanted to have him on a 3rd kidney transplant so he could extend a little bit more. He said, how long would he live? Well, we don't know. Maybe another 6 months to a year. I said, but he's in pain right now, and this operation would cost, I forgot the number, was over $150,000 to do this operation, and the family didn't have the money. They would literally have to go to Medicaid so the government could pay for it to keep him alive a little further. He did not want another operation, so he had to find do not resuscitate and do not continue with the process in order to stop him, stop the doctors. Otherwise, they felt obligated to have to do this new operation, even if he couldn't afford it, but certainly they could bill Medicaid for it. The question we're going to have as we go forward from both a philosophical and a legal point of view is, can we or should we restrict assisted suicide or assisted suicide, as it's called, to just 6 months? Does the individual have a right to his life? Do you have a right of privacy to say, I want to end my life now? I don't want to wait for 6 months. I don't want to wait for a year. I don't want to wait for 2 years. I want to end it now, and I want my doctor to give me a prescription so I can do so. Because today, the doctor gives you that prescription, he's going to go to jail. And so in my book, I talk about Dr. Kevorkian, which is a very famous situation, and the doctor was committed to want to help people have assisted suicide, and so the cases go through explaining how far can the state prohibit someone from assisting you to end your own life, even though you voluntarily want to. These are profound questions, moral questions, and some of course people will say it's religious questions, that you have only a limitation where God is willing to take you, that's when you're ready to go, you don't have the right to terminate your life. The problem with that, of course, is that there are real consequences to the person who is ill and has to live more than 6 months in the illness, or even an inability to be a productive life and simply wants to end the point of his living on this earth. The courts have to make a determination against and the balance. If the state, there is no movement state in the United States wide in order to increase the ability of the person to exert their right to end their life, but there's going to be. This is going to be the minute, for example, I'll give you a simple example. The government decides to end some of the Medicaid support and some of the insurance that cover. Now the families have to do, can I keep my grandfather alive for another 6 months? I have to sell my house to set the funding so I can pay the hospital. How far is this going to go before we have to just let him suffer because I can't sell my house? Or you don't want to sell your house. But either way, someone's going to pay for that treatment while he is, or someone's going to suffer the pain of the next several months or years unwarranted. So in the text, I discussed the Kevorkian cases, the cases that they discussed the right to life. There were several cases that came out of Florida, and which discussed how far can you go and who can be the person who actually signs off. I also discussed different nations, other religions, the Buddhist, Hindu religions, Zoroastrian, Jainism, different religious institutions in this religious faiths, and how they handle death. Whether because a lot of this resistance to dying comes from a Christian, Judeo-Christian base, which may not be your basis. And of course, it is going back to the question: is First Amendment, is the government restricting or establishing a religious practice by not letting me end my life whenever I want to end my life because they believe there's a religions who keep living. It's a complex issue, but it's one of the most important issues that I'll be addressing in our next generations as we get forward. So I really look forward to the opportunity that you to read the book. If you have any questions, you can email me, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. We'll enter into a dialogue, and maybe in the future we can have some podcasts to discuss every one of these types of issues with you. I appreciate your attention you've given to me and to the book, and I look forward to having future conversations. Thanks.